I told the team that I didn't do a good job of getting our players put in a position, and we were too complicated in all three phases. Tried to do too much on defense, tried to do too much on offense, and we ended up not being able to execute and being good at anything. And that's my fault. I don't fault them for what they were doing. Oregon's a very, very good football team, and they were trying to find ways to maneuver to get stops and trying to find ways to maneuver and move the football. And we ended up not being very good at anything. We didn't execute. Then they hit the early scores on you, and you're playing catch up to a certain extent, which doesn't help. But I've got to do a better job. I should have went in there last weekend and said, look, guys, here's the deal, okay? We've got to be very, very, very simple. And we got to be able to go out and execute and be in the right spot, and we got to tackle, and we got to be able to rush the ball and use some play action. And then we got to a point we're so far behind that it got one-sided that now you're just reaching for anything. So, and I shared with the team, I said, look, guys, the good news is it's one game. But I'm going to take the blame with them. But they've all got to come back and train tomorrow, and we'll evaluate the tape, grade the tape, look at it. And then the coaches have to take responsibility. And then we move forward. We've got an open week, so we get a chance to get 4 good days of practice in next week. Then we got to, get back into a game routine and get ready to play Tulsa.
How difficult is it in 1 week?
I can't hear because of that.
How difficult is it to kind of replicate Oregon's speed, strength, and a quick turnaround in those 2 big plays they hit early?
Well, it's difficult. They've got skill guys. There's times defensively we were out of place, and there's times they just ran away from us. That we were there, but they just ran away from us. So as coaches, we have to evaluate that. We have to look and say, was it the concept, or are they, they have skilled players, and were we in position? And I know it's some of both. Just from the naked eye watching it in the game, there's times that we're in position, they just ran away from us. But I still go back to, I should have just said, guys, be simple, 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 simple. And I didn't do that. And I kind of had a feeling on Thursday, I thought we might be doing too much, trying to essentially find ways to maneuver and get good football plays instead of just executing. And that's, like I said, that's as much as my fault as anybody's.
Is that maybe a byproduct of the fact that you have new staff, that guys are coming from different areas, different levels, trying to do different things here?
Some, Scott, but I watched Thursday, and I kind of had a feel that we're just trying to do too much. And we're not really in a position to do that right now with where we're at from a youth standpoint. And so I should have known better than that. Not as much the new staff, really, than just saying, look, we should have just went out and tried to execute.
Is this the type of result you were referring to when you said that it's not going to be worth it for some teams with a certain level of NIL budget to play a team?
I can't. They're so loud out here.
I was asking if this is the type of situation you were referring to this week when you talked about it might not be worth it for some teams with a certain NIL budget to play teams with more massive NIL budgets. Might be
Well,
like that.
the first thing is when I made that comment, I was complimenting Oregon for what they had done. Okay. The second thing is, which I said later in the week, we've made commitments also. All right, but we have to be better and fundamentally sound and execute. That's really what it comes down to. And then, as I said, sometimes you're going to play people that have the ability to run away from you. Okay, well, then we got to look at that and see where we're at. But we didn't play good enough with the systems that we had and execute to put ourselves in that position.
Mike, I'm guessing that whether it's your administration or your fans or the players, whoever, this has got to be disheartening, what happened today. Do you feel that way?
Yeah, I feel bad. I told the team that, and I feel bad for them, but it's football. Sometimes things like that happen. The one thing that they can do is come back next week, as you know, and work their butt off and continue to try to execute. We put, Zhang throws a couple balls to him in the end. And at that point, we probably should have just ran the ball. One time he throws it, and they had a looping linebacker come all the way across the field, which he would have never seen that guy. And we probably should have just run the ball and just, tried to work on some base stuff. And we're just trying to get something going.
It felt like the mismatch was so today. It's hard to sort of evaluate position by position if guys improve. But overall, it wasn't that long ago you guys were in a top 10, top 15 position. Now it feels like that's a really distant memory. How do you sort of wrap your mind around just where the program is as a whole after seeing this?
Well, again, we still have some places where we're young, and being honest with you, we have a lot of new guys, and we're still working together, from a staff standpoint and player standpoint. So I don't know that I necessarily have to do that. What I think is important for our staff now is next week's practice, and then being able to look at, okay, here's what we did wrong as coaches, and then here's where we need to improve as players, and then some of it could be a skill set. We have to look at all three of those things.
It was such a tough ask for Zane to come in here and play in this atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
But what benefits can he get and growth can he get from all the snaps he took today?
Well, every time he plays, it's gonna benefit him. I mean, there's no substitute for repetition and live reps, none, zero. And so he'll be better in the next game just because he's played in this game. And he'll see some things in the timing of it, particularly at that position. You just kind of get more reps and get used to it. And that's what he'll have to do.
With all these new guys, are you worried about how they'll respond to this next week of practice? Do you think you've got a pretty good idea about?
I think they'll practice really well next week. I really do.
And what gives you that confidence?
Just I've been around them for, since July 28th. And I've seen how they've worked, and I think that they'll come out and they'll practice hard, and I think they'll be excited to get back on the field in 2 weeks, to be honest with you.
Talks, I think it was during the preseason, about the different challenge you had in building a culture with the team that had so many new guys. What did that feel like out there on the sidelines today as things were going back?
I think the culture part of it, we're going to find out this week. Which we talked about this several weeks ago, is that to a certain extent, nobody's ever been in a difficult position, so we don't know how they're going to react. But we'll find out this week. In most cases, we've always had them for years, and so we kind of have them trained and we know who they are. So the most important thing now will be how they react to this moving forward.
What was the vibe on the sidelines? Did you see good reactions?
They were fine. There was enough disappointment that it made me feel good, because it should be. Like, if they should be disappointed because they want to play better and have success. So I saw that, but I walked up and down the bench quite a bit when it was a difficult time during the game, and I didn't see any finger pointing, and I didn't see any players that weren't willing to accept coaching, and I looked for it today. So that was a positive.
Do you like where this bye week is? Does it come at a time when
I do now. The bye weeks, I don't know anymore. Some people say this one's too early, but we practiced for 4 weeks in the summer. So it's the timing of it's fine, after game 2, game 3, somewhere in there. But it'll be good for us now to get back to basic football and reprogram these guys. And I'll have to be able to handle the coaches in the right way, because I'm just convinced that we tried to do too much, tried to do so much to give ourselves a chance to win the game that it pushed us into not being able to execute.
Given that, it might be hard to really analyze Zane without looking at film, but how did you feel it played?
Obviously he threw 2 balls to him for touchdowns, in the second half, and so there were a couple times he was late on his throws. we had a lineman downfield, and that's, he's holding the ball a little bit. So that's part of being young. We got to coach him out of it. But I know that he competed, and he didn't seem phased. I mean, it wasn't like he was flinching, in my opinion. And but I got to talk to Coach Johns, and we got to discuss that and kind of see where he was at. But from a distance, I thought he was fine.
He had, I think, 3 that got batted down at the line. Is that more of a blocking issue than him not seeing a guy, or?
Well, I don't know. It'd be unfair for me to without watching the tape. It'd be unfair for me to give you a. I know that there were a couple times that they got some pushed us back, but without looking at it and being able to see, because I don't know what he saw on one side compared to the other.
Mike asked you a second ago about the place that you guys were in just a few years ago being contenders. That's obviously under your tenure. I mean, you created this big expectation. But now with the way things are, do you worry at all about the high expectations that have been set and what that could mean for you, your future, anything like that?
Well, I'm never worried about myself, okay? I'm worried about the team, and what my job is to continue to try to build this program with the new players we have, and get in a position to where we're in a competitive nature like that. And that's really the only thing that I'm concerned about. I don't think anybody on our staff has forgot how to coach football. It's just a matter of us giving them something they can execute.
What's sort of your message to the fans? You have a nice group follow you out here. So what's your message to the fan base right now?
Well, my message to the fans is to stay with us. I mean, that's what we do. It's in our alma mater. It's loyal and true. The one thing I can say is I understand they get frustrated. Fans get frustrated. People get frustrated. I don't get frustrated, but I don't like it. Okay, so there's different ways to handle adversity. But people outside the program get frustrated. I get that. I understand. It's just part of competitive athletics. The one thing I can say is this: they'll work hard, and 2 weeks from now they're going to come out and play hard. That part I'm fairly sure, and we would love for them to come out and support their team. And we'll try to do our part, but there's no doubt that that group in there is disappointed in what happened today. I guarantee you that.
Last couple questions.
What about Trent Howard? It looked like he got some really good push, and I think I saw him walking off.
Yeah, he's got a boot on. I think he turned an ankle. I mean, obviously we'll know more tomorrow.
And Coach, how good do you think the Oregon is?
I think they're pretty good. I said, a week ago they're a good team. I mean, there's no reason to deny that they're a good team. There's nothing wrong with saying that teams you're playing are good teams. They have a lot of skill, and they have a lot of speed, and they're very big up front on both sides of the ball. They're extremely big. I mean, they're big up front. The quarterback, we didn't put much pressure on him today. We talked about that a week ago, that I was concerned that, a little bit that we could put pressure on him. So we'll see, but they're a good football team.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Coach.
All right, thanks.
Thanks, Mike.
Mike, next bunch.